So I have a question for you today. If you're someone who is feeling constantly tired all the time, burned out, or maybe you've even actually got a medical diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, or post-viral fatigue, or long COVID, or something in that realm of disease names, if that is the case, then my question is, how can the Energy to Thrive journal help you? So my name is Katie Dean. I am the owner of the company Find My Energy and also the creator of the Colourland system, both of which are designed to help you reconnect back to your true self, from which you can find the energy to thrive and live the life that you're really desiring. And in this video, I would like to try and answer the question that I have just posed for you. So that is, again, how can this Energy to Thrive journal be helpful and supportive for you personally? Well, it's the journal that I wrote to accompany my book called Finding the Energy to Thrive, Navigating the Maze of Life and Embracing Your Path to Wholeness. And I'd like to start with a little story. So when I first sat down with the publisher, who at that time was only a prospective publisher, but they were the ones that have ended up publishing this book, Baby Pie Publishing. One of the owners, Mara, who is a beautiful, intuitive lady, actually, funnily enough, had the same idea that I did when we were talking about this project. I had the main book, which gave you a series of chapters, which is basically as if I'm guiding you through this maze that is chronic fatigue syndrome or burnout. And I'm just sort of exploring pathways with you so you can decide whether they're paths that are helpful for you or not. So with that sort of focus in mind, at the end of each chapter, I had put together some journaling prompts, really to help people to sort of hone in and understand how they were responding to the chapter, and therefore be able to see whether this thing that I was talking about at that moment in time might be helpful for them or not. Now, I'd always sort of had it in mind that I would love to turn all those little prompts into a beautiful journal that could sit alongside the book. So rather than just doing what I would do and grabbing a scrap of paper as you're reading and scribbling down some ideas, you had something beautiful to actually write your responses. And, at that time I was a little bit nervous and I didn't really know how this meeting was going to go and how my ideas would be received. So I didn't even mention that idea of mine. But as we were going through this discussion about the book, well, Mara suddenly said, you know what, I've got an idea. And the funny thing was, she more or less gave voice to exactly what I'd been envisaging in my head for this journal. So obviously, with both of us thinking that this would be a good idea, we had to run with it, didn't we? So what's ended up being created is a beautiful journal that gives you the journaling prompts, as I've just said. I've also included some of my special Colourland sacred geometry within there. So there's some actual healing that you can get as you're using this beautiful journal. And as well as giving you the space to write, I've included the actual prompts, so the bullet points from each chapter, so you can have a little reminder, because I remember on my journey through chronic fatigue syndrome, the brain fog was just horrible, and it made it really difficult to actually take in information. So as I was trying to put this book together, I wanted to try and accommodate that in lots of different ways. And this is one of them, so that in the journal, you've got these little trigger reminders. You don't have to go back and reread everything in the book, although I recommend doing that if you are finding things that aren't quite sticking. But basically, it's going to give you a lot of flexibility. So that's the story behind the journal. And that is one of the ways in which it's going to help you. which is actually giving you the space to come back in touch with yourself and to reflect on how the information that you've been receiving is actually landing with you. And there's no right or wrong answers in this reflection. So there may be times when you're getting these amazing light bulb moments and it's giving you clarity over whether or not to try a particular modality, or to seek out a practitioner in an area, or to bring in some kind of free support for yourself. All of those things you can tune into and decide whether they're right for you. But there may also be times when your response is like, what? I have absolutely no idea what she is saying here, or why this is in any way, shape, or form relevant for me. And it's great to know that stuff as well. And of course, there's the third option, which is just the I don't know. I don't know what I think. I don't know how I feel. And to be honest, after such a long time potentially living without energy, you do lose touch with what you think and how you feel and what's useful and what's not. But the irony is that your journey out of the mess of chronic fatigue or burnout, whatever level you're experiencing, the bottom line is that comes back to reconnecting with yourself. Because ironically, chronic fatigue syndrome is kind of a way of becoming invisible. I mean, that's the impact that it has. And we tend to do that, or rather our bodies and our subconscious minds tend to gravitate towards that when we've managed to get into a lifestyle that's not really quite suiting us in one way or another. You know, we may be spending all our time people pleasing and trying to do things for other people, whether it's sort of helping them, looking after them, or whether it's actually trying to follow career paths or stay in relationships because that will make another person happy, but it's not fundamentally making us happy. So in all of that mess that we accidentally create, we lose ourselves. And it's in this process of finding ourselves that we then find the paths that our body needs to go on that beautiful recovery journey. And of course, beyond all of that, journaling is just such a powerful practice to get stuff out of your head and somewhere else. I mean, in this case, onto a piece of paper. And if you've never really thought about that before, let me just give you an example of that that's in everyday life, nothing to do specifically with sort of self-help kind of journaling. So if you think about a time maybe when you knew you needed to buy something from the shops, but you weren't actually going to the shops for a couple of days, or maybe there's something that you need to do at work, and perhaps you need to send an email, but you can't do it at this precise moment in time. You know how when you've got that, oh, I need to do this thing, and it's really, really, really important that I don't forget it. And that just circles around and round and round in your head. And it's kind of a distraction from everything else that you want to do. So if you grab a piece of paper and make yourself a note, that thing comes out of your head and onto the piece of paper. Obviously, if you then lose the paper, forget your shopping list or whatever, the thing probably won't get done, because that is actually the power of it. Once you've taken it out of your head, it's as if you've done it. You just need to remember to actually go and do it as well. And that's really the practice of journaling. So when we've got all these thoughts spiraling around in our heads of, oh, why do I feel this way? How am I going to feel better? Will I ever feel better? What can I do next? And so on and so on. I mean, you will have your own patterns that are all too familiar. So when you can get those out of your head and onto a piece of paper, that clears up some space, and that's already freeing up just a little bit of energy for you to use in some rest to support your body. So I know I have a tendency to sidetrack and waffle on, and let me just bring this back to the two main points to answer that question. How can the Energy to Thrive journal help you? Well, it's in two ways. One of those ways is to get all of the stuff out of your head so that you can free up a bit of headspace and a bit of energy for rest, but without losing it. You've got the reference there, so you can go back and take from it what you need, whatever is going to be helpful for you. And the second thing is to actually give you the space and the container to begin coming back to who you really are. What is it that holds true for you? What resonates with you? What are your symptoms telling you? And what are the practices or modalities or support in any shape or form that you know that your body needs? So that was my intention in creating this journal. It sits alongside the main Finding the Energy to Thrive book. And that, of course, is taking you through the maze of chronic fatigue and burnout and helping you to understand how your body gets into that state and, of course, how you can get out of it. And I know it works because it's basically my story. It's how I recovered, even though it took me 20 years. But I hope that that gives you hope. Doesn't mean it's going to take you 20 years as well. But if you are someone who's already been in that burnout, chronic fatigue for years or even decades, I want you to know that there really is hope to get out of this. And the answer is in this exploration and this reconnection with yourself. So I really hope that this is going to be helpful for you. I hope that's given you a flavour of what to expect. And if you have got any questions or any thoughts, please drop them in the comments below. There are some other videos here that talk more about the main content in Finding the Energy to Thrive book. So you may also find those helpful, and I will link to those down below too. And of course, I hope that you will connect with me through the Find My Energy website, through the Colourland system, or at the very least, just click the subscribe and the notification on here on my YouTube channel, and you'll get to learn more about my recovery journey, how I'm helping other people now, and this whole vast landscape of chronic fatigue, burnout, and the more hopeful side of how we reconnect to ourselves and rediscover that energy that is still innately within us, even though it might be deeply, deeply buried at the moment. So thank you for watching this today, and I look forward to connecting you again soon.